When you think of the Titanic, you think of tragedy. But amid the freezing waters of the North Atlantic, one woman's sheer force of will became the stuff of legend. Her name was Margaret Brown. History would remember her as the unsinkable Molly Brown. Margaret was born in 1867 in Hannibal, Missouri, to poor Irish immigrants. She was a tough, spirited girl who dreamed of marrying a rich man. But at age 19, she moved to Leadville, Colorado, and fell in love with a poor miner named J.J. Brown. She married for love, giving up her dream of wealth. But fate had other plans. In 1893, J.J.'s mining engineering skills led to the discovery of a massive vein of gold at the Little Johnny mine. Overnight, the poor young couple became millionaires. Margaret moved to Denver and tried to join high society, but the old money elite of Denver rejected her. She was too loud, too unrefined, too new money. Margaret didn't care. She taught herself multiple languages, became a philanthropist, and fought fiercely for women's rights and the welfare of miners. In early 1912, Margaret was traveling in Europe when she received word that her grandson was ill. She immediately booked passage on the first available ship back to America. That ship was the RMS Titanic. When Margaret boarded the magnificent vessel in Cherbourg, France, she was a first-class passenger. She dined with the wealthiest people in the world, the Astors, the Guggenheims, the Strausses. For 4 days, the voyage was a dream. The Titanic was a floating palace of luxury and technological marvel. Then came the night of April the 14th. At 11:40 p.m., Margaret was reading in her cabin when she felt a sudden, jarring shudder. The Titanic had struck an iceberg. Initially, there was no panic. Passengers were told it was a minor issue. But as the ship began to tilt, the terrifying reality set in. The unsinkable ship was going down. Amid the chaos on the boat deck, Margaret Brown did not panic. She didn't cry or faint. Instead, she took charge. She began physically grabbing women and children and shoving them into the lifeboats. Finally, a crewman practically threw her into Lifeboat number 6 as it was being lowered. The lifeboat was designed to hold 65 people, but it was lowered with only 24. The man in charge of the boat was Quartermaster Robert Hichens. As they rowed away from the sinking Titanic, Hichens was terrified. He refused to go back to rescue survivors in the water, claiming they would be swamped by panicked people. Margaret was furious. She argued with him, demanding they return. When he refused, she took an oar herself and ordered the other women to start rowing to keep warm in the freezing air. She threatened to throw the quartermaster overboard if he tried to stop her. Through the long, agonizing night, Margaret kept the women in her boat rowing. She sang songs to keep their spirits up. She shared her warm clothing with those who were freezing. When the rescue ship Carpathia finally arrived at dawn, Margaret didn't stop working. Once aboard, she used her knowledge of languages to translate for the bewildered immigrant survivors in third class. She realized that many of the steerage passengers had lost everything they owned. Before the Carpathia even reached New York, Margaret had organized a committee of wealthy survivors. By the time the ship docked, she had raised $10,000, a fortune at the time, to help the destitute survivors. When reporters met the ship in New York, they asked her how she had survived such a horrific ordeal. She famously replied, "Typical Brown luck. We're unsinkable. The legend of the unsinkable Molly Brown was born. She used her new fame, not for self-promotion, but for activism. She campaigned for women's suffrage, helped organize the first juvenile court in America, and ran for the United States Senate before women even had the right to vote nationally. During World War I, she went to France to rebuild devastated areas behind the front lines, earning the French Legion of Honor. Margaret Brown died in 1932. She was a woman who refused to be defined by her poverty, rejected by high society, or defeated by the greatest maritime disaster in history. She was loud, she was brash, and she was truly